So again, George Spady is recognized as a leader in development and delivery of effective services for the care, treatment, and support of individuals with substance-related disorders and dual diagnosis. People come to George Spady, find dignity, hope, and healing, as I said, a new path towards health and well-being. The mission of the organization is to provide a continuing of support services to people with complex life experiences associated with substance-related disorders and homelessness, empowering them to improve. Sorry, getting too many pop-ups here. Empowering them to mission to ordinance, continuous, empowering them to improve their lives through client-centered, evidence-based best practices. Hold space for the land acknowledgement. We recognize that we are gathered in collaboration and with joint purpose on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional homeland of many Indigenous nations who have cared for this land since time immemorial and continue to do so today. We honor the treaty and commit to working in partnership with Indigenous communities to end homelessness, empower healing and recovery, while addressing ongoing impacts of colonialism. I and my family are visitors to this land. I acknowledge that the land provides me with resources, a community, and a sense of purpose for which I'm eternally grateful. The recovery treatment team specializes in housing individuals post-treatment, providing recovery supports and the development of recovery capital. The goal is for participants to graduate from the program with the skills and resources necessary to maintain recovery, independence, and sustainable housing. So if we look at RTT, we assist participants in 1, securing safe and stable housing to support the recovery after treatment, and 2, coordinating access to Alberta's recovery-oriented system of care for those seeking recovery for treatment for addictions. We are structured similarly to an intensive case management team with housing outreach workers and follow-up support workers, and we have a program capacity of 80 participants. We are more than just a housing program. We are supported participants through their early phase of recovery, year 1, which can be the most difficult part of the journey. Our program aligns with the Government of Alberta's plan for Government of Alberta's plan for Alberta ending homelessness in 10 years, and the priorities in Edmonton's updated plan to prevent and end homelessness. The recovery treatment team. So let's provide an overview of our presentation today. First, we're going to take a look at elements of recovery. The elements of recovery provide a vital framework for individuals on their journey, promoting empowerment and motivation and supporting their overall well-being and fostering hope for achieving lasting wellness. Together, these elements create a supportive environment that empowers individuals to pursue recovery goals and sustain fulfilling life laying foundation for the RTT program. We've entitled this presentation Parallel Journey because with RTT, the housing outreach worker and the follow-up support worker are both connected to the participant before housing and continue to follow the participant throughout the 12 months of the program. The housing outreach worker's role does not end after housing, and the follow-up support worker's role does not start when the participant is housed. With the housing journey, we will look at the role of the how, pre and post housing. We will look at safe and secure housing through our recovery lens and landlord relations. Drawing on the principles of recovery coaching, the recovery journey will include reviewing our partnership agreement, exploring recovery capital, and utilizing the recovery capital assessment, our core case management tool. We will conclude the presentation with program pathways, criteria, and the intake process. I would also like to state here that I do have a team member following the conversation, so if you do have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat, and she'll be able to assist. But we will have questions at the end. Elements of recovery. It is important to recognize that all recovery pathways are valid, and the most effective pathway will align with the individual's unique needs. As outlined in Alberta's recovery-oriented system of care, support should meet individuals where they are at and honor their personal goals in recovery. We at RTT support recovery by emphasizing that recovery is built on stability, purpose, and connection. And we align with the essential elements of recovery versus a single recovery pathway. In short, the elements of recovery provide categories to recovery capital, which we'll get to. Home. Again, it's more about safe and stable, a place to live. It's also the element primary, the role of the housing outreach worker. Health is about physical and emotional well-being, overall wellness, and self-care. Friends and community is about change, support of friends, and a new community. And jobs, a sense of purpose. I like to say the journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first one. This encompasses the follow-up support worker's role in navigating recovery capital, which we will talk about later today. The parallel journey, housing. The housing outreach worker's role, again, is program intake, establishing and reaching housing goals, preparing the participant for tenancy, but also acting as a liaison with the landlord. So the how is initially the first point of contact to our applicants. They set up the interview, and potentially they complete the VI SPDAT to ensure the applicant is attached to coordinated access. Once the applicant is accepted to the program, the how will develop a housing strategy, again, tailored to that individual. Again, we're establishing a goal and the when and where housing will happen. In some cases, the participant is not ready, and they may prefer time at a sober living site to adjust and to be supported by peers in recovery, and that's okay. Participants remain on the list as long as they're maintaining contact. We may have met a participant in detox before going to treatment. The how will continue to connect with them throughout their treatment program and plan on a transition to housing once graduated. Our aim is to house participants directly after treatment or transition them to sober living until they are ready for market housing. When it comes to tenancy, preparing participants is the essential step before housing. Through the housing outreach worker, we provide tenancy orientation that builds awareness of tenant expectations under the RTA, common rules and regulations, the crime-free multi-housing program, and also bed bug prevention. This orientation helps participants feel better prepared for housing and reduce uncertainties. The role of the housing outreach worker post-housing, they still remain a point of contact for housing issues. For example, if a landlord has concerns or there is a breach in the lease, the how returns to speak with the participant about the behavior of concern. They encourage a solution to be found and directs them back to the follow-up support worker for assistance. With this approach, the follow-up support worker remains in the role of helper. Safe and secure housing. What does this mean? For RTT, it's more than reducing personal safety risks. It's about community safety, Can they walk to the store and be safe? Is it safe for recovery? Is there substance use exposure in or around the building? And why have we taken this position? Because our participant has told us, I do not want to live in these neighborhoods. My neighbor is using and it's risking my recovery. People are knocking on my door offering. Our response has been to be proactive. So how do we assess for safety? One, let's take a look at the community. Let's drive around. Is this neighborhood safe? Let's use the EPS crime map tool for insights. We assess the building. Are there key safety features? Secure entryways, doors, windows, peepholes, 200 degrees, well-lit hallways, stairwells, locked laundry rooms, maintained grounds, exterior lighting. Most importantly, ask the landlord. Is the building part of the crime-free multi-housing program? There's benefits there as well. Participants have a role to play as well. And how can they contribute? Again, we look at guest management responsibilities. Again, setting boundaries with your peers. Don't allow unauthorized people into the building. Find ways to contribute to the building's overall community. And again, maintaining cleanliness. Again, a building's appearance, if it's unkept, it may invite social disorder. Assessments of the community with the recovery lens. Again, does the community support recovery? Does it have access to peers, friends, supports, activities, or other capital? We understand that having neighbors in recovery also build connections supporting recovery. We often see participants wanting to live in buildings already occupied by peers in recovery, which is great. Safe and secure housing is not just about physical safety, it's about creating an environment that supports recovery and community well-being. Along with the parallel journey of housing, we look at our landlord relations. Shared values. RTT and the landlords share the same core values, safe and secure housing. Landlords want tenants that will not disrupt the peace and enjoyment for others. And similarly, our participants want a home where their recovery can be safe. To do this, landlords use screening as a tool. RTT also uses the screening process. During RTT's intake interview, we do explore the participants' tenancy history and what went well and what they have learned from their experience. We also ask what safe and secure housing means to them and how can they participate in it. So again, it's a look at internal recovery capital skills. Together, the screening tools identify applicants who support our shared values. Landlords also have the housing outreach worker to act as a liaison should any issues arise, and their tenant has a follow-up support worker to support them. Again, the landlord has a team to support housing success. Tenant preparation. As I spoke about earlier, again, we do provide a tenancy orientation to help participants understand the responsibilities and prepare them to be successful tenants. We're also beginning to provide the Rent Ready course offered by the City of Edmonton for participants currently in treatment to further strengthen their housing readiness. Landlords are essential to our program, to recovery, our participants, and we value their participation. With our shared values, screening, and preparation, we hope to remove barriers to housing and build mutually beneficial relationships with landlords. The parallel journey recovery. Follow-up support workers' role. Again, program intake, establishing the partnership agreement, and recovery capital. We found that building a connection with participants before their transition to market housing leads to the best outcomes. To support this, the follow-up support workers provide pre-housing support in parallel to the housing support. It's happening at the same time. The follow-up support worker conducts the screening interview alongside the housing outreach worker, and as a team, collectively review all applicants to determine acceptance or declines. Once accepted to the program, a partnership agreement between RTT and the participant is developed, along with a recovery capital assessment to determine where the participant's capital is at that moment in time. It may also provide an idea of what recovery capital may be needed upon move-in. I'll explain that in a bit. It's a quick overview of our 12 months of support. Again, month 1 to 4 focus on housing stabilization and recovery capital and stabilizing income, establishing community connections, and encouraging participants' own internal coping skills. Month 4 to 8 continues to focus on recovery capital, moving towards employment and determining if there's any gaps that need to be addressed. In the last 3 months of our 12-month program focuses on financial and housing independence and wrapping up any shared goals and preparing them for program exits. We'll learn more about recovery capital, but first, let's look at the partnership agreement. So the partnership agreement, again, is aimed to deliver proactive recovery-oriented support in collaboration with each participant. Provide follow-up support, co-design, implemented, and evaluated with the participant, and aligned to long-term recovery and housing stability. Again, the partnership agreements are a tool used in recovery coaching. We've adapted it to provide clarity on expectations for participants during our 12 months of the program. Agreements are co-created before housing, and then when the participant does move in, we say, this is what we've heard you say, right? So we kind of understand, we reflect back what they told us when we develop this partnership agreement. This approach reinforces partnership and ensures participants feel heard and respected. The agreement may be reviewed and revised at any time, and ideally there is a check-in every 3 months to see if we're on track or adjustments need to be made. So let's take a look at this agreement. The partnership agreement, again, there's 12 areas of discussion here: creating safe space, vision of recovery, clarification of roles, intent of this agreement, how we're going to communicate, post-housing priorities, long-term goals, setting goals together, concerns, grievances, reduce program engagement, risk to housing, and program exits. So we really come to, we aim to work together to kind of answer some of these questions, like creating safe space, right? How can we build a safe space to share openly and honest with each other? Okay. How can we make our one-on-one sessions feel comfortable and safe for you? And what does safety mean to you? Understanding the roles of the FSW, like again, what do you understand the role of a follow-up support worker to be, right? What is your role? Like, what is the participant's role in this agreement? Okay. Goal of the partnership. What is the intent of this agreement? What do you hope to gain from working together? And once you're housed, what will be the most important thing to do? When there's missed sessions, again, what should we do if sessions are missed or agreed upon actions aren't being followed? Again, it's like there's a lack of participation. Let's have a conversation. So what are we going to do if, again, we see that you're withdrawing from the program? How can we get you back? And these questions, again, are happening before they're housed, before we're actually going to begin to work. So again, in some cases, the participants are not going to have an answer, and that's okay. At least we planted the seed for self-reflection, and we can go back and reevaluate this partnership agreement at any time. Recovery capital. Recovery capital refers to the internal and external resources necessary to support and maintain recovery. It encompasses many recovery elements such as health, friends, community, and a sense of purpose, cultural and spiritual connections. RTT promotes the development of recovery capital and support an ongoing reassessment throughout the program. Recovery capital may diminish during periods of significant stress. RTT helps participants strengthen their problem-solving and stress management skills by connecting them to recovery-oriented community or internal supports to ensure long-term recovery is sustainable and collectively supported over time. So let's take a look at recovery capital and some examples of recovery capital. So here is our participant. So again, recovery capital is both internal and external skills or resources. Okay, so let's see here. So here's the first capital. We have a family. They're a good resource. They have a peer in recovery. Maybe they found themselves to recovery-oriented system of care. Maybe they've gone to a detox, for example, or reached out to help. They found themselves a social worker or addiction counselor. They've been referred to RTT. There's a housing worker now attached to them as a support to them. They got a follow-up support worker as well from RTT. They develop some daily habits and daily routines. Again, it's about personal wellness and getting up and eating meals. It's an important skill to have. Clear boundaries. They realize they need to set some personal boundaries with others, and they do so. They got themselves a sponsor or recovery coach to help them along. They now secured safe housing. They've joined a support group in the neighborhood. The landlord has now become a resource to them as well. They got themselves a family doctor. They attached themselves to Indigenous cultural helpers for resources. They've got a gym membership, so now they're working out more regularly, adding to that personal wellness. They engage in themselves in some personal hobbies. Journaling. They began journaling for self-reflection. They've engaged in cultural ceremonies, active participating. They are attending church. They practice mindfulness. They're pursuing creative pursuits, maybe performing music or painting. They were employed. They give back, providing services to others. And overall, they become a member of the recovery community. So again, all the elements of recovery are here. Okay, you have home, which is in red, health, which is blue, friends and community, which is green, and purpose, a sense of purpose, is yellow. So again, recovery capital can diminish over time. So this is why we do the recovery capital assessment to circle back to ensure that they're either adding more capital or replacing the capital they've lost. And again, the ultimate goal is they're living within the recovery community. They're aware of their recovery capital resources. They're participating. They have purpose in life. So now we're going to take a look at the recovery capital assessment on how we actually assess what the resources and skills they do have. So when completing the recovery capital assessment, the participant is asked to rate their experience during a period of time. So 2 weeks, 1 week, a month. They score each question a 1 or a 5, 5 being strongly agree. Based on a series of 20 questions, a score is created to determine the level of recovery capital. It is a tool that also provides an opportunity for self-reflection for the participant and an opportunity for the follow-up support worker to be curious and open up conversations, highlight strengths, but also explore what internal or external resources may be needed. The follow-up support worker would then navigate the participant to the appropriate resource or skill. Recovery capital evolves over time. This is why the follow-up support worker uses the recovery capital assessment as a core tool to support participants throughout the program. For example, assessments may be conducted weekly during the first few months, or again, be conducted the first few weekly on the first few months, and increase frequently whenever a significant change has occurred in the participant's life. Sometimes it's just visiting one or two of the questions. So now let's take a look at the recovery capital assessment. Our assessment tool is organized in 4 categories, with each relating questions to each: community, social, personal, cultural, spiritual. Okay. So the first question here is, I have access to recovery-focused services and resources in my community. For me, I want to take a look at, does housing support recovery? Are there neighbors or peers in recovery close by? Have community stressors been reduced? And again, it rates they rate their experience. It could be 1, it could be 5, but these are some of the things they're asking. Again, self-reflection. I'm involved in meaningful activities such as work, education, and volunteering. I'm asking again, do you have access to employment preparation? Do you have hobbies? Do you have sober activities? Do you have vocational resources? I have a network of friends and family who support my recovery. Here, what do you think in the last 2 weeks? Rate yourself from 1 through 5. I say to myself, I made some safe boundaries. I share openly, honestly. I have daily routines. I have support groups, family close by. I've reconnected with my family. I have safe boundaries. I have the skills and knowledge needed to maintain my recovery. So again, I ask, my self-reflections, like, am I actively participating in ceremony? Have I created safe boundaries? Am I sharing openly and honestly? Do I have daily routines? Do I have hobbies, a sense of purpose? I respect and celebrate cultural values that support my recovery. Again, here, am I actively engaged in ceremony, traditional medicines, faith, or higher power? So it's really a 20 questions survey. Again, it's an opportunity to ask some really great questions and deep dive and be curious. When recovery capital scores are actually monitored, the follow-up support worker can determine how much support the participant may need. For example, if the participant is scoring high recovery capital, a monthly visit and a weekly text message may be the only support they need. However, if there's a drop in the score, they may need increased visits or to connect with capital, which can concur at any point in the program. We can also use the partnership agreement to get us back on track. So again, it's a continuous cycle in the program to use recovery capital assessments. It is a great tool. The recovery treatment team and what we've heard. So in review, our focus is securing safe and secure housing for participants after treatment, and while fostering the development of recovery capital to support long-term stability. Through the collaboration with treatment facilities, sober living sites, and our network of landlords, we work to achieve housing goals. Our program continues to evolve in alignment with the Alberta's recovery-oriented system of care. We have integrated recovery coaching practices and use the recovery capital assessment as the foundation of our case management approach. And here's what participants have told us. Being housed by RTT gave me the space to reflect and to begin to heal for the first time. With a home to myself has given me a sense of freedom I've never experienced before. It was not an easy transition, and thoughts of relapse were ever present. However, I made a deep connection with my follow-up support worker, which has helped me through it. Pathways to RTT. So seeking recovery, in recovery, and well, there's two ways there. So seeking recovery. So we're circling back again to, part of our program is to coordinate access to detox and treatment facilities for those seeking recovery for treatment, recovery and treatment for addictions. When inquiries are made to the program, we direct them to George Spady's medically supported detox. From there, coordination to treatment can be applied. Should they be waiting for treatment, RTT will actually go and connect with them at detox for program screening, and will follow them through treatment. If MSD is not an option right now, we will also refer them to recovery coaches or other recovery-oriented system of care community entry points. So if you come to us seeking recovery, we will direct you. For individuals in recovery, we are connected to several treatment facilities where applications are admitted directly to RTT. RTT will work with the treatment facility to transition the participant into market housing post-graduations. Participants can be accepted to the program and be on the list until they graduate. We currently have someone graduating in July, and they're on our list. For short-term treatment programs, we will almost always recommend they transition to a sober living site first, as pending caseloads may not permit housing within the short time frame. We also receive several self-referrals from individuals in sober living sites or other unsecure housing situations. Again, if you contact us, we will send our housing outreach worker out to have a conversation. Oh, sorry. So criteria for the program, again, a history of chronic or episodic homelessness, has engaged in the province's recovery-oriented system of care, again, completed or will be completing a treatment program for substance use. And the third requirement is a desire for recovery-focused follow-up support, which includes entering into a partnership agreement. The screening interview. We conduct a screening interview to determine if RTT is able to support one's housing and recovery. RTT sees a wide range of recovery journeys, from new to recovery to multiple treatment graduations. The interview assists us with determining if their skills and goals align with recovery and the recovery elements: home, community, health, and jobs. We acknowledge and commend the progress applicants have made on their recovery in their recovery. However, there are times when our program may not align with where they are at that point in time. To ensure successful program completion, the team may recommend further development in specific areas of recovery before taking the steps into market housing. In most cases, we recommend spending time in recovery peer-supported environments to further strengthen their foundations. We can also access the by names list on their behalf as well. Applicants are always welcome to reapply when they feel they've made some changes in readiness to proceed with the recovery journey with us. And now it's time for you. Do you have any questions? Just looking at the chat. So what is the eligibility criteria, wait times, referral process? So again, the criteria is, again, a history of chronic or episodic homelessness, engagement with the recovery-oriented system of care, again, have completed or will be completing treatment program, and also the interview process and entering into a service agreement or a partnership agreement with us. Referral process, again, you would contact me directly. Actually, we do have an application form that needs to be completed and submitted to the program. Once we receive the application form, we'll actually contact the participant directly and set up an interview. Yes, there was lots of information here. I'm sorry, folks. Again, lots to digest here. Any other questions? I just want to thank Jen for being here as well to answer some of the questions here in chat. She's part of our team here. So again, if you have any further inquiries, want to know more about RTT, our program, our case management, our intake process, our recovery capital, feel free to contact me directly. My email is now up on the screen here. Yes, wait times can vary. Good one, Jen. Good catch. Again, the goal of the program is to house directly after treatment. Unfortunately, there are times we're not just able to do that, especially if the graduation date is 1 or 2 weeks away. And that's the scenario we direct them to sober living sites because we want to make sure that their recovery is safe. And sober living sites are one place where that could happen. We can get really lucky. We have a good network with our landlords. If we have capacity to take on, we will. But we have to be mindful that we are a small team. We only have 4 follow-up support workers, so our capacity can fill up quick. So yes. Okay. So thank you very much for joining me today. Again, you feel free to contact me if you have any follow-up questions. Very happy to be here today to share our story. We are a fairly new program. We're about 1.5 years now. We're doing some amazing stuff. We have an amazing team. And again, thank you everyone for joining me today. I appreciate being a part of the Housing Month this year. All right. Have a good day, everybody.